The Pioneer was the smallest and weakest ship in the galaxy. It was a forgotten vessel, given little respect by the other powerful alien fleets. The humans had only a small fleet, and their ships were outdated. Yet, Captain Luke Marshall believed the Pioneer had something special, something that could change everything. He led his crew with determination, even though their ship was small and their resources were limited. Luke stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, staring out at the empty space in front of them. They were assigned to a quiet part of the galaxy, far from any big battles. The sector was peaceful, and the humans had no enemies here, but Luke knew that peace wouldn't last forever. Alien ships could appear at any moment, and the Pioneer had to be ready. "Captain, we've received a message," said Lieutenant Olivia Carter, one of the ship's officers. Luke turned to her. "What is it?" "A signal from a nearby ship," Olivia replied. "It seems to be an old, abandoned alien vessel. Number. Life signs, but it might be worth checking out." Luke thought for a moment. They had little to lose. The Pioneer was far from any enemy, and an unknown ship could hold valuable information or technology. "Set course for the ship," he ordered Dot as the Pioneer moved closer to the derelict vessel. Dr. Ella Hart, the ship's scientist, ran some scans. She was fascinated by the readings. "Captain, this ship is older than anything we've seen, but there's something strange. It has an energy signature we can't identify." Luke raised an eyebrow. "Can you access it?" Ella nodded. "I think so, but I'll need to work quickly. The ship's systems are failing." With no time to waste, Luke ordered the crew to board the alien ship. The air was cold, and the ship's halls were silent. As they moved deeper into the dark corridors, they found something unexpected. In a hidden chamber, a small artifact lay in the center of a pedestal. It was glowing faintly, but there was no sign of life. This could be the key to something bigger," Ella whispered as she carefully picked up the artifact. Little did they know, this discovery would change everything. Dr. Ella Hart carefully examined the strange artifact. It was small, about the size of a human hand, and its surface shimmered with an energy that seemed to pulse. She could feel its power, even though it was barely a whisper of what it might one day become. "It's not just any relic," Ella said, her voice filled with wonder. "This thing is alive with energy. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Luke stood behind her, his eyes focused on the artifact. "Can you figure out how it works?" Ella nodded slowly. "I think so, but it's going to take time. The energy readings are unlike anything we've encountered. I'll need to get back to the ship and run some tests." They carefully took the artifact back to the Pioneer. Once aboard, Ella set up a lab in the ship's science bay. The rest of the crew watched from the control room as she worked. Everyone was curious, but also cautious. No one knew what the artifact might be capable of. As Ella ran her tests, she started to notice something strange. The artifact seemed to respond to the ship's power systems. Every time she activated a new test, the artifact would glow brighter, and the ship's own systems would surge with extra energy. It was almost as if the artifact was alive, feeding off the ship's power. This isn't right," Ella murmured to herself. "This thing is reacting to the Pioneer like it was built for it." Luke, who had been watching over her shoulder, leaned in. "What do you mean?" "It's like the artifact and the ship are connected," Ella explained. "It's drawing power from us, and in return, it's giving us something back. I don't know how yet, but I think this is more than just a weapon." Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. The entire Pioneer shook like it had been hit by a shockwave. The crew scrambled to their stations, but nothing was visible on the radar. The shaking stopped as quickly as it had started. "Captain, the artifact," Ella said, her voice shaky. "It's more powerful than I thought." Luke's heart raced. "What's happening?" Ella looked at him with wide eyes. "I think it's changing the ship systems. Our engines, our weapons, they're becoming stronger. But it's unstable." Luke felt a chill run down his spine. This discovery could be the edge humanity needed, or it could destroy them all. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Captain Luke Marshall stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, staring out at the stars. His mind was racing. The artifact they had discovered was changing the ship, and Luke wasn't sure whether that was a good thing or a dangerous one. The energy surges from the artifact had become more frequent, and the ship's systems were getting stronger by the day. "Captain, we're getting strange readings," Lieutenant Olivia Carter said from her station. "It looks like we're being followed." Luke turned sharply. "By who?" "I'm not sure," Olivia replied. "There's no clear sign of an enemy fleet, but something's out there watching us." Luke's instincts told him to be careful. The Pioneer was already in a fragile state after the artifact's power had started to change the ship. The last thing they needed was to be caught off guard by an unknown enemy. "Set a course for the nearest star system," Luke ordered. "We need to move and stay off the radar. Dr. Hart, how's the artifact?" Ella Hart appeared on the bridge, looking worried. "It's unpredictable. The power surges are becoming harder to control. I'm afraid if we use it again, we might break the ship's systems entirely." Luke frowned. He understood the risk, but they couldn't afford to leave the artifact behind, not when it held the key to such unimaginable power. "We can't just stop using it," Luke said, his voice low. "This could be the advantage we need. It might be the only way to protect Earth." Ella nodded slowly, but she didn't look convinced. "We need to find a way to stabilize it. If we don't, the artifact could destroy us." Luke turned to his crew. "We've got one chance to figure this out. If we don't, we might not make it out of this sector alive." The crew worked in silence, each of them knowing that they were on the edge of something enormous. As the ship moved deeper into space, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Luke's mind kept returning to the enemy they couldn't see. What if someone was already after the artifact? What if it was a trap? As the Pioneer entered the new system, the tension in the air was thick. Every crew member was alert, ready for whatever was coming next. The ship's engines hummed loudly, their new power making the Pioneer feel more alive than ever before. "Captain," Olivia said, her voice tense. "There's something up ahead." Luke stood up, his eyes focused. "Prepare for anything." Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The Pioneer moved slowly into the new star system, the hum of the engines louder than usual. The crew was tense, waiting for whatever lay ahead. Captain Luke Marshall stood at the front of the bridge, his eyes scanning the vast emptiness of space. They had no idea what they were about to face. "Captain, I'm picking up a fleet, Lieutenant," Olivia Carter said, her voice shaky. "It's an alien fleet and they're coming fast." Luke's heart sank. The last thing they needed was a fight, especially with the artifact's power still unstable. "How many ships?" "At least 5, maybe more." "They're heavily armed," Olivia replied. "They're not sending any messages. It's like they're coming to attack." Luke's mind raced. Could this be the same group that had been following them? Or were they dealing with a new threat altogether? "We can't outrun them," Dr. Ella Hart said from behind him. "The artifact is giving us more power, but not enough to escape. We need to use it now if we're going to stand a chance." Luke turned to face her. "You're sure the ship can handle it?" Ella hesitated. "I'm not sure, but if we don't act quickly, we won't have a choice. The artifact is growing more powerful by the minute. It could help us, but it's risky." Luke took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision. He had no choice. If they didn't use the artifact, they'd be destroyed. "Do it," Ella quickly. Worked with the ship's systems, connecting the artifact to the Pioneer's weapons. The ship's energy output spiked, and the hum of the engines grew louder, more intense. The entire ship seemed to shake, and Luke could feel the power building beneath them. "Ready, Captain," Ella said. "Activating now." A strange pulse of energy shot out from the Pioneer, hitting the incoming alien fleet. The ships were thrown off course, some of them flickering in and out of existence. One ship vanished completely, as if it had been erased from reality itself. Luke couldn't believe what he was seeing. The Pioneer had just wiped out an enemy ship with a single blast. The power of the artifact was unlike anything they had ever imagined, but the fight wasn't over. The remaining alien ships quickly regrouped, preparing for another attack. "We need more time," Ella said, her voice filled with urgency. "The artifact isn't stable. We can't keep using it like this." Luke looked at his crew. "We fight or we die. Prepare for another round." The Pioneer was shaking as the alien ships closed in again. The strange energy from the artifact had worked, but the enemy fleet wasn't backing down. They were preparing for another attack, this time with more force. Luke's mind raced. The Pioneer was no match for their firepower, but with the artifact, they had a chance. The problem was, the artifact was still unstable, and using it too much could destroy them all. "Captain," Ella's voice came through the comms. "The artifact's power is reaching dangerous levels. I'm not sure how much longer we can control it." Luke gripped the chair in front of him. "How long do we have?" "Minutes, maybe less," Ella replied. "The more we use it, the more unstable it becomes. We have to end this now." Luke's mind worked quickly. They needed a way to take out the enemy fleet without overloading the artifact. His eyes scanned the screens in front of him. There had to be a way to turn the situation to their advantage. "Olivia," Luke said, his voice calm but firm, "can you predict their movements? Get us a clear shot at their leadership." Olivia nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. "I can do that. It'll take a few seconds, but I'll get you a lock." Luke turned to Ella. "Can you hold the artifact steady for just a little longer?" Ella hesitated, looking at the flickering screens. "I'll try. But once it's too much, there's no going back." Luke nodded. "Then let's make this count." As Olivia worked to lock onto the enemy leadership, the Pioneer shuddered again. The alien fleet was closing in fast. The Pioneer had become a target, and the enemy wasn't going to miss. "Captain, we're ready," Olivia said, her voice tight with tension. Luke felt a surge of determination. "Fire everything we've got." The Pioneer unleashed the full power of the artifact. The energy blast hit the alien leadership directly, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship began to flicker, its outline warping. It seemed to fold in on itself before disappearing completely. One by one, the remaining alien ships began to vanish, as if the Pioneer had rewritten their very existence. Luke watched in shock. They had done it. The Pioneer had just wiped out an entire fleet with a single shot, but the victory was bittersweet. The artifact had been pushed to its limit. Luke knew that they couldn't rely on it much longer. "Captain," Ella said, her voice faint, "the artifact, it's done. We've drained it." Luke looked around at the crew. They had won, but they had also used up their greatest weapon. The future was uncertain now, but one thing was clear. The galaxy would never see humanity as weak again. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The Pioneer drifted in space, quiet after the battle. The alien fleet was gone, wiped out in an instant, and the ship's crew had survived. But there was no celebration. The artifact's power had drained, and with it, their advantage. Luke sat in the command chair, staring at the empty space in front of him. "We did it," Olivia said softly. "We stopped them." Luke nodded, but the weight of the situation hung heavy on his shoulders. The Pioneer had done something incredible, but they were now vulnerable. They had no more weapons, no more hidden strength. The artifact had given them a chance, but it had also taken everything. "Captain, I'm reading a new signal, Lieutenant." Carter said, "It's not a ship. It's a message." "A message?" Luke repeated, his voice filled with surprise. "From who?" "I'm not sure," Olivia replied. "It's in a language I don't recognize. But it's coming from an unknown source, far outside our usual range." Luke frowned. "Could it be from the Galactic Council?" "I don't think so," Olivia said. "It doesn't feel like a regular transmission. It's different." "Patch it through," Luke ordered. The screen flickered to life, showing strange symbols and patterns. They didn't make any sense, and the message seemed to pulse with energy. Luke stared at it for a long moment, trying to make sense of the jumble of data. "Captain, the energy readings are off the charts," Ella said, joining them on the bridge. "This message, it's not just words. It's something more." "What do you mean?" Luke asked. "It's like the message itself is trying to communicate with us," Ella explained. "It's reaching into the ship's systems, trying to connect with us." Luke felt a chill run down his spine. The Pioneer had already done the impossible by using the artifact. Was this some kind of follow-up, a consequence of their actions? "Can we stop it?" Luke asked. Ella shook her head. "No, it's already inside. Whatever this is, it's connected to us now. We don't know what will happen next." Luke clenched his fists. "We don't have time to wait. We have to figure this out fast." The crew looked at each other, uncertainty filling the air. They had won the battle, but what they had awakened could be something far worse. They had no choice but to face it head on. "We move forward," Luke said, his voice steady. "Whatever it is, we face it together." Asterisk, 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 the message on the screen pulsed, brighter with each passing second. Luke stared at the strange symbols, trying to make sense of them. The entire crew felt the strange energy filling the ship, making the air heavy with tension. The artifact was gone, yet the ship was still reacting as if it was connected to something powerful and unknown. "Captain, the message is changing," Olivia said, her voice filled with uncertainty. "It's no longer just symbols. Now it's like it's forming words. Can we translate it?" Luke asked, gripping the armrest of his chair. "I'm trying," Olivia replied, her fingers flying over the console. "It's unlike anything we've ever seen. The language, it's not just words. It's almost like a code, a combination of sound and energy." Ella stepped forward, staring at the screen. "It's not just speaking to us. It's affecting the ship's systems. I can feel it in my lab. It's reaching into the core of the Pioneer." Luke felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. "What does it want from us?" "We don't know," Ella said. "But it's trying to communicate, maybe even control us." Luke was silent for a moment, considering their options. They couldn't just sit back and let whatever this was take over. "Shut it down," he ordered. Olivia quickly typed commands, but the message only grew stronger. The ship's lights flickered, and the engines groaned under the strain. "I can't," Olivia said, her voice tight with panic. "It's too strong. The system is locking us out." "Then we fight back," Luke said, his voice firm. "Ella, can we use the artifact's power one last time? I know it's unstable, but if it can block this thing, we have no choice." Ella hesitated. "It's dangerous. The artifact might explode if we tried to use it again." "We don't have a choice," Luke said. "We either stop this thing or it will take us. It's already controlling the ship." Ella turned back to the console. "I'll try," she said, her hands shaking. She began working quickly, tapping commands into the system. The lights in the ship flickered again, and the strange energy from the message grew louder. The entire ship seemed to hum, vibrating with power. "Hold on," Ella shouted. She pushed the final command, and the energy from the artifact flared once again. The ship shuddered as the power surged. For a moment, it felt like everything was falling apart. Then, suddenly, the message stopped. The ship was silent. "We did it," Olivia whispered, her voice filled with awe. "The message, it's gone." But Luke knew it wasn't over. They had stopped the message, but they had no idea what had just been unleashed. The galaxy had changed, and they were at the center of it. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The Pioneer sat in the silence of space, its crew on edge after the strange event. The message had stopped, but a new feeling of unease filled the air. They had barely stopped whatever force had taken over their ship, but Luke knew that whatever it wasn't finished yet. "Captain, I'm picking up new readings," Olivia said, her voice sharp with tension. "There's a fleet moving toward us. It's bigger than the last one, and they're coming fast." Luke felt a tight knot form in his stomach. They had no idea what the message was or who sent it. But now, a new enemy was coming, and they were far from ready. The artifact had drained their power, and they had no more weapons that could match what was coming for them. "How long until they reach us?" Luke asked. "At least 20 minutes, Olivia replied. "They're fast, but they're still too far out for us to identify. The energy readings are off the charts." Luke turned to Ella. "Can we prepare the ship? Is there anything left we can do?" Ella shook her head. "I don't think so. The artifact's energy is gone. We're running on emergency power, and the ship's systems are damaged. I can try to stabilize things, but we won't have enough to fight back." "We've survived this far," Luke said, his voice steady. "We'll survive this too." He looked at his crew, each of them working hard to get the ship ready for whatever was coming. The feeling of being watched was still heavy, and it seemed like the galaxy itself was closing in on them. Luke knew that the Pioneer was more than just a ship now. It was a symbol that humans had the power to change the game, to face down the impossible. "We need a plan," Luke said, walking over to Olivia's station. "Can we outsmart them? Use their approach against them?" Olivia looked at the screen, analyzing the approaching fleet. "Maybe. If we use the ship's damaged systems, we can create a fake signal to trick them. We can make it look like we're running, trying to escape. That might buy us some time." Luke nodded. "Do it." The crew worked together in silence, their movements fast and precise. Luke could feel the weight of every decision, knowing that the next few minutes could determine whether they lived or died. As the fleet grew closer, Luke stood by the command chair. "Ready yourself, everyone," he said, his voice calm but firm. "This is it. We're going to show them what humanity can do." The ship shook as the fleet drew nearer. Luke gripped the edge of his chair, waiting for the moment when the Pioneer would either slip through the enemy's grasp or face destruction. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Enemy fleet was getting closer, their ships looming in the distance. The Pioneer was ready, or as ready as it could be. The crew had done everything they could to prepare, but Luke knew they were walking a fine line. Their plan to fake an escape was their best shot at surviving, but it was risky. "Captain, where?" "Almost there," Olivia said, her voice tense. "They've picked up the fake signal. They're chasing us now." Luke nodded. "Good. Keep it steady. Don't give them any reason to think something's wrong." The Pioneer moved through space, the damaged engine sputtering but still holding together. The enemy fleet followed just as they had planned, but Luke couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Every second that passed felt like a countdown to their destruction. "They're closing in," Olivia said, her hands moving quickly across the controls. "We can't keep this up much longer. They're on to us." Luke turned to Ella. "How's the ship holding up?" "It's not," Ella said quietly. "The systems are breaking down. The power's unstable. I can't keep the fake signal going for much longer. We need to make our move soon." Luke's mind raced. They couldn't outrun the fleet, and they couldn't fight them without the artifact's power. But there was one thing left they could try. "Olivia, can you get us close enough to the nearest asteroid field?" Luke asked. "If we can hide among the rocks, maybe we can lose them." Olivia's eyes were locked on the screen. "I think so. It's a tight squeeze, but we can try." "Do it," Luke ordered. "This is our last shot." The Pioneer changed course, heading for the asteroid field. The enemy fleet followed, their ships closing in, thinking they had won. But they weren't prepared for what came next. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Luke said. "We have to make it through the field and lose them in the rocks. Stay focused." The Pioneer weaved through the asteroids, dodging giant rocks and smaller debris. The crew worked together like a well-oiled machine, moving quickly to avoid the deadly obstacles. Luke's hands gripped the chair as the ship jolted and shuddered with each close call. "We're losing them," Olivia said, her voice filled with relief. "They can't follow us through the field." The Pioneer finally emerged from the asteroid field, and the enemy fleet was nowhere in sight. The crew let out a collective breath, but Luke knew they weren't safe yet. They had escaped for now. "We made it," Luke said, his voice steady. "But we can't rest yet. We need to find out who they are and why they're after us." Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The Pioneer floated quietly in space, hidden from the enemy fleet. The crew had escaped the asteroid field, but the danger wasn't over. They were safe for now, but they had no idea who the enemy was or what they wanted. Luke stood at the command chair, staring out into the vast emptiness of space, his mind focused on what came next. "We've lost them," Olivia said, sounding exhausted. "But we need to find out who they are. We can't just keep running." Luke nodded. "I agree. We need answers." Ella walked over to Luke, her expression serious. "The message we received before, it wasn't just a threat. It was something more. It was calling us. Whatever's behind this, they know about the artifact. And they're not going to stop until they get it." Luke clenched his fists. The artifact had already cost them so much, and now it seemed like they had made a bigger target of themselves. "We can't let them take it. We'll protect the artifact no matter what." "We can't keep running either," Ella added. "If we're going to face them, we need to know what we're up against. We need to find out who sent that message." Luke looked at his crew. They were exhausted, but they were also determined. They had just survived a battle with an unknown enemy and made it out of an asteroid field alive. He knew they were capable of more, but he also knew the next challenge would be their biggest yet. "Olivia, I want you to track the enemy fleet," Luke said. "We need to find out where they went. They're not going to just disappear." Olivia nodded. "I'll start scanning for any signs of them." As Olivia worked, Luke turned to Ella. "We need to know everything about that artifact. What's its true purpose? Why does it affect the ship the way it does?" Ella looked at the artifact, which was still resting in the ship's lab. "I'm still studying it, but I think we've only seen the beginning of what it can do. It's not just a weapon, it's something much bigger." Luke took a deep breath. He had no idea what was coming next, but he knew one thing for sure. The Pioneer and its crew had become a symbol that humanity could stand up against anything, no matter how powerful. "We'll face whatever comes next," Luke said, his voice filled with resolve. Together. As the crew set to work, they knew that their journey had only just begun. The enemy would return, and the battle for the galaxy was far from over.